Hey, hello everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. This is a special one because, as you can see, there's three of us here. We've got Lauren and Tony here. They're in North Carolina, dealing with the heat wave, but we have a special podcast here because I have picked yet another movie that we'll see if it was a boring one or not, like I'm used to doing. But we decided to watch an American movie, or I guess Canadian movie possibly, but In a Violent Nature, which just recently came out. I think in the UK it said the 12th of this month and was on video on demand here. So we were going to review In a Violent Nature for you guys. So what'd you guys think?
Well, it's a big question. I mean, I like the concept. I enjoyed the idea of looking at a slasher, a killer in a slasher, but from the perspective of the killer. I thought that was a really strong idea. Did it fulfill its potential? Not really, for me. In much the same way as Skinamarink was a great idea until you watch it. I mean, I know it wasn't as bad as Skinamarink, but It was interesting to a point, but then there was a lot of nothing, which I understand was the point. There were some nice ideas. The time it takes the killer to catch a victim. You kind of see in the killer's time, which is quite fun. Because usually the killer's just walking, all of a sudden appears in front of the victim. So I quite liked that kind of prolonged, drawn out idea. Yeah. But do I need an hour of it? Yeah. I don't know. Once right. I get it. The joke's done. Move on, sort of thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there was maybe a little bit too much of that for me. What do you think?
Yeah. In case you haven't heard of the film, it's like the idea is like the Jason films, but from the perspective of the killer. So you have a camp area. There's some campers, and instead of following them in their story, you follow him mostly from behind as he walks to go kill everyone.
Which actually was interesting as well, because as a filmmaker, it was quite interesting because you're watching it from the perspective of the killer, but it's not the killer's point of view. So it's like they didn't go far. They kind of stopped slightly before. Right. They should have done. What's that film? There's an action film where you see it from the perspective of the
like Agent 47.
No, it's like Harry or Henry.
Oh, that's right.
Where I can't remember what it's called, but you see it from literally the point of view. So you never see the face.
His person.
It's actually you see his hands and you see what he's doing, but you never see him. So do that or don't do it. But it seems a bit strange just to follow this killer.
This was my problem from the start, and you both can vouch for the fact. From the start, I was like, I'm not sure about this. Because the pitch for this movie is horror movies, quintessential slasher movie does this. Let's show you everything they don't film. Like, that's a terrible pitch. We have made a film, which is all the stuff you want to watch. Let's see all the stuff you didn't want to watch.
And there's a reason that's they don't do that.
It's a great academic article. It's a great short film.
Great short film. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not a movie.
If you don't want character development, if you don't want storyline, and you just want fun kills, great. The movie hit on all points for me in that aspect. But then it left me wanting more, where I was like, well, wait a minute. And to follow up on your point of like from the point of view of the killer, I've been thinking about this since we watched this last night. Probably one of the best kill scenes I've seen. I hadn't seen it before, anything like it. There's a kill scene in the movie, but that's from neither point of view. Yeah. They shoot it from kind of the side.
However they think it's going to look the best.
It looks the best, exactly.
So you're thrown out of that world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But was 100% a great kill. So as a spoiler alert, this was the kill.
It was a great kill. It was really good, but I think that was the problem with it. It was a great kill. The special effects were great. When you watch it, you'll kind of know which one we're talking about. But there was a cartoon element to it as well that you weren't really expecting with the bleakness of the rest of the film. Right. You're seeing the boredom of this killer, just trudging. And then all of a sudden there's this very over-the-top, Terrifier-esque type kill, which was great to watch, but kind of was at odds with a lot of what I was watching, if that makes sense. I mean, I would watch. I would rather watch those kills all day. I mean, they were really good fun. Don't get me wrong, but it seems strange to go so over the top in that film. I don't know, and I think maybe you're right. I think there's nothing wrong with that, but the way it was filmed, you're taken out of out of what the killer's doing.
Had you done it from behind the person, you would not have seen any of it. And it would not have been a good kill.
choose to do it from the killer's perspective or the victim's perspective, but you're totally taken out of that.
And actually, that seems to be a theme with all the kills.
Yeah, all the kills were done from the traditional third-party perspective, the traditional camera third-party perspective, except the spoiler alert. I'm going to mention a specific kill, but it's not the super awesome kill. We're not ruining that for you. And actually, it's not even my favorite kill, which is a different one. They drop a cinder block on someone's head, and it's basically from the killer's perspective. It's from just above his head.
Okay, I can't remember.
That's the only one.
That would have been the closest one from his perspective, yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's not really, it doesn't feel like his perspective, even though the camera's just here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. It's not the camera angle.
Well, one's from across the lake.
Yeah, one you see from a great distance.
There's no spoiler alert there. You know it's coming for 5 minutes because he has to get there. So they never speed up him. And if they do speed him up walking, they do it in, like, you can see the light has changed, or you can see he's in a different area of the woods, but he's in the same speed the whole way.
Yeah.
I think that was I quite liked that though. So what happens is you see the two women, playfully flirting with each other on the side of the lake, as you do in Friday the 13th and the burning and everything else. And you see Johnny, the killer, on the other side, and you see him walk into the water. And then you cut back to these two ladies. And you kind of think any minute now, and if this was Friday the 13th, or if this was the burning or whatever, he'd be popping up now, But because he's got to walk across the lake, the bottom of the lake, it takes forever. And I quite liked that. It was quite funny. And there's a build up, and you think, well, actually, it would take him a bloody long time to walk across that lake,
Yep.
But the problem is that joke, as I said earlier, was played on too much.
Yeah, it was the whole. Yeah. I mean, they do it again in the beginning scene.
There was one bit I did like though, when he just basically just see him walking, allowed the killer walking, and there was one bit where I think it was to get an act or something, but he walks up to something, and instead of doing what he needs to do, instead of turning around to go to the victim, because he's on his own mission, he has to walk. He walks. Keeps going and walks around the house to come back again. Like he's not deviating, which I thought that was really fun.
Very cool, cool aspect. Got the time for him to come out. Got him where he needed to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's also an hour and a half of that.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And I suppose the other problem is that seeing everything from the killer's perspective. You see the camp. To see the campers, whatever, you see them at the end of their campfire when they've just had their scary story or whatever, which again is quite good fun. But because you're not really seeing the victims, you don't care about them either. So I know you're not. I'm not saying the characterization in the Prowler or Rosemary's Killer or whatever is great. But at least you kind of get to know the characters a bit. Friday the 13th, there's the jock, there's the joker, there's the slut, there's the geeky one. Yep. So you kind of build up a rapport with them a little bit, and you kind of sympathise with some, you don't with others. Whereas in this, there was none of that.
Right.
You just literally watching the killer, and then you watch the kills.
Well, and this is part of the thing of filming. When you're making a film, no matter what, whoever you sort of think is the main character is who you try to side with naturally as the audience. Like, we don't watch Cruella from the dogs and the friends perspective. We watch it from Cruella, and so she's going to be the hero we care about, even though she's about to murder a whole bunch of people. We like her. You in a horror film, you watch the ridiculous, stupid kids, and you go, "You're total idiots." Like Pumpkinhead, you watch these kids accidentally run over a child, and you're like, "You're horrible people." But I'm on your side in this battle because you're the ones I've been watching.
Right.
We're watching this guy, but it's not even from, it's from his perspective in the sense that we're following him, but it's not his story. We're not, we get this moment at the beginning of the film, they take this necklace that was supposedly his mom's, and that's why he crawls out of the ground and starts killing these people. But we don't have any like sympathy for him being upset. We don't have his story. We don't have anything like that. So it's not like we care about him either. And so you have no one, like and so the camera's telling you we want this person's story, but we don't tell you that story.
Yeah, again, the exposition came from a third party again, so you're not really seeing it from anyone's, from the killer's perspective at all. Interestingly as well, the other thing, reverse kind of what I just said, was that instead of sympathising with the victims, you often, you kind of go into a slasher film like Jason, whatever, Freddy, wanting the kills. You kind of know who you want to die straight away because they're the dicks,
Yep.
They're the bullies, they're the arses, they're the ones causing the problem. You think, well, I can't wait till you die. And again, you want the killers to do away with them, but you don't get that aspect in this either, because you just haven't got enough of anything,
right?
To really care about. There was a great kill. I just liked it. I won't give anything away. Where it was just hacking. Do you know that? So and it goes on for so long, and it again overly long, but again that scene really worked. I thought that was really fun.
I thought they nailed all the kills. I mean, the first kill I guess it was the first. The second kill. So the second kill with the campers.
Yeah.
Was a great sequence.
Yeah.
But you could have watched a silent movie and done the same thing, because every conversation they were in, you got there late. So you don't even know what they're talking about. They're talking about other characters that you never see, you never hear about again, you didn't see in the beginning. So you don't know anything about these guys, but every kill was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would this have been a much better film if they'd done it traditionally and we'd been like, okay, it's kind of a ripoff of Friday the 13th, but they'd followed the campers show up, they take this necklace, and we get those same kills, but we're following the camper story. Would it have been a better film?
I think what we said last night, for me, I would rather watch a traditional slasher than watch that again. I admire the idea more than the end result. So I would rather watch it again from like we usually do, from the victim, one of the victim's perspectives. They focus on one of the characters, don't they? Who usually ends up being the final girl or boy sometimes, but usually the final girl. And you kind of follow their story usually more so than the other characters. I think for me, if they kept it slightly more traditional, I think I'd have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, I agree.
But it was trying to be too. I don't want to use the word arty. It was a bit like, I don't want to keep talking about bloody Skinnamarink.
It was trying to be Skinnamarink.
Yeah, it was trying to be Skinnamarink.
It had moments where it was specifically like the lake scene.
Yeah.
We're gonna show you not what's happening.
Right.
Like there's the very first kill. You see a guy go into a house. You see him chase somebody, you don't see him die, you see him come back later, and then you see the guy dead in like a corner. It's showing you just away from what you want to see. And that was the point of Skinnamarink. Is it still scary if you're not seeing what you're hearing is scary?
No.
Do you know what? I wonder if...
No, it's not. That's my answer.
No, it wasn't scary. Actually,
right.
That's interesting.
It's not scary.
And
it's
there
not
were
a scary film.
And there were no surprises. There was no... I know people dislike jump scares, or no jump scares. Well, Skinnamarink did have jump scares, but because you're literally watching nothing for half an hour, so it wouldn't matter what happened. As soon as something happens, you're going to go, what's going on? But yeah, there was nothing really in it. Now, unless, like Skinnamarink, unless it doesn't matter where you're watching it. If that was a sort of Bill Viola, video installation in a gallery, maybe I would understand there's a concept there that didn't lend itself to entertainment.
Definitely didn't translate through.
No, that's where I am with it. Yeah, I mean there was some quite clever bits in it, but it didn't make for an hour and a half entertainment. Now I don't if it was an hour and a half in a gallery, I don't think anyone would watch it for an hour and a half either. They'd watch it for a couple of minutes, think, oh yeah, I get that. That's quite a good concept,
Right.
And then move on to the Van Goghs, or whatever,
So you asked, would you want to watch? Would it be a better movie if it was the traditional way? I think I mentioned it last night. I thought the main character, I guess, is Johnny the killer.
Yeah.
I thought he was menacing looking. because they do show him
Eventually, yeah.
like at one level, so you're not from his point of view either, because they show his face, and then he also has a very menacing looking mask that he puts on, and they explain where the mask comes from.
Is cool.
Mask is very cool. Like, I really hope that mask shows up on my front step for trick or treating this year, because it's very cool and very creepy looking. But creepy would be the closest it got, or it was more like grotesque, like just because of the kills. But yeah, I would have rather seen, like, now I want to see the movie where they made where it's the traditional.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. But again, actually, interestingly, the makeup, you see his face as well, don't you? Like, without the mask on. And then, the makeup's fine, but it's very traditional slasher, slightly deformed character. They haven't really done anything particularly great with the makeup.
But I think they're trying to. I think the goal of this is to not make fun of, but to take on those older ones.
Yeah,
so
I get
they
that.
need to keep it within that reference point. So I'm okay with that.
Okay.
You're right,
Okay.
they could have done maybe more, but I get why they kept it old school.
Right.
Because that could be Jason's, mutilated face.
Mutilated
Yeah.
And again, like a lot of movies that we talk about, I feel like it went 10 minutes too long.
I reckon about an hour.
Okay, well,
It should be a short film.
minus all that, there is a 10-minute sequence that felt like I was watching a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Again, I get that the point is, okay, the movie would have ended here, so let's show you what happens that they didn't film in the movie, which is the point of the movie.
Right, yeah.
There's a reason the movie ends traditionally where it does, because
Right.
nobody cares about what awkward conversation.
Right.
Never mind, I don't want to ruin it, but like nobody cares about the stuff that is boring and pointless. That's why it's boring and pointless. But I think that's your point about the art installation. The boring and pointless does have
That art
fascination.
installations are boring and pointless.
No,
That's what she said it right from her.
No, but like my
Well,
point
it
is
certainly can be. My degree, I did one for my degree piece, and it was pointless and boring. I can't deny it.
fascination with the mundane has an art historic. They're giving me shit. The fascination with the mundane has an art historical precedent. You
I
know,
know
all the way
what
back
you're
to
saying,
Van
yes.
Gogh and the guys putting their shoelaces on. There's
Yeah.
a fascination with the everyday that kind of
Right.
works in an art context.
Right.
It doesn't. So, how many people are lining up to see the film where somebody in real time makes breakfast? But
Yeah.
you put that in an art installation, and there's a point and a history behind it.
And it sells for millions.
I know.
You-
I'm not
so-
sure what to say
so
about
actually,
that.
so if you did it with other genres, like Grease, where you don't see the singing and the dancing, and you
see it all from the principal's
see
point of
them.
view.
I don't know. You
The
see
classes, you see them take science class.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That's
For
it.
an hour, from bell to bell,
Yeah.
and that's Grease. All of a sudden, that's
So it's a concept that works really good in your head.
yeah.
And then when you lay it out there, because you're like, that would be great. You
Yeah.
could make an hour and a half movie in an
Yeah.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
Everything happens this way. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, it doesn't,
Make it
here to here on paper does not
Yeah.
translate. Right?
Yeah, I suppose I was going to sort of make a joke about, you could have it, be like a comedy film without missing out the comedy, without missing out the punchline. But I suppose it doesn't because it still does. It still delivers on the gore and it still delivers on the kills.
Yeah.
So you've got to give it
Yeah.
credit for that.
This is a very interesting question for somebody like me. I'm sorry. This
No.
is going to get very academic very quickly, but in a fun way. I promise. Okay.
Fun and
This is-
academia.
This is the
What?
great academic question of what's a horror movie. Now that is an unanswerable question. I'll be the first to say that. People debate it for a reason. But this is a horror movie that isn't trying to scare you. This is a horror movie that isn't built on tension. This is a horror movie that is not that you know and are informed on all parts of the negative bits at all times. But it gives you gore.
I think
So
I would
it's a horror
classify this
movie.
as a horror movie,
But
a non-scary horror movie.
But
It's
that's
an
the thing, is like,
interesting
what
question.
is, because the horror genre was invented as a certificate. It was actually like something to warn people, this is what to expect when you go in. It wasn't a genre, it was the H certificate.
Okay.
And it was because it would really upset you.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, this is gory, but I've been far more upset by gore in other films,
Or being upset by films that aren't gory.
or upset by films that aren't gory. I wasn't upset at any point in this film. Okay, the gore is detailed, but because of the way it's presented,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like I went, but like, it was more like, oh, interesting what they're doing. Oh, that's kind of weird. Oh, that's kind of cool. I wasn't like, oh my God, you watched a movie
also-
the other day where somebody it was like a Jack Reacher. And he put his eyes in his eyeballs. And I was like, oh! I
No,
didn't have that.
we watched some the other day. The Ruins.
Oh my god!
And it was horrible. It was
that
the divine in the
horrible.
body and the things going through. And there was like bits where it wasn't even that. It was the human on the human kind of. It was where they were doing horrible things to each other because they thinking it was for the best, and they were horrible to watch.
That's unsettling.
Yeah,
and
that was unsettling.
I don't think I found the gore in this.
It wasn't
horror unsettling.
No. I think it's because sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
We're kind of taken out of what we expect from a slasher film. And our, I wasn't sure what to expect. I knew a little bit about it. I knew it was kind of from the perspective he's talking about, from the perspective of the killer. But I knew what that meant, but I didn't know how that was going to translate. So it was hard to put a finger on what we were watching, and therefore I think because I was trying to work it out all the time.
It took you out of the movie.
It took me out of the movie. Yeah, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying maybe that's what the director wanted. Because I was thinking about it for a lot of the time. So on that level, it works.
Yeah.
But I couldn't recommend it to someone as a whole. I would recommend it to someone to say, "Well, have a look at this."
Yeah.
Because there's some interesting parts to it.
You wouldn't say you got to see this.
No, I'll have a look at this because there's some cracking gore, but there's some good ideas behind it.
I do. I was gonna say I think it delivered on the fact that there's nothing really going on. I mean, you know what's going on. There's no surprises, and the kills are good. And that was like the high point of it.
Yeah.
Because at least there weren't like really lame kills.
Yeah, or always off screen. It started out always being off screen.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
but
that was going to be dangerous to go forward
quite interesting because I know we disagree on this, but I think the Terrifier films are fantastic. But again, there's not really much happening other than the kills. But to me, it works because the character of Art the Clown is quite unnerving.
100%.
He's there. He's not there. He's the face, the kind of
facial expressions
the
he
expression.
makes.
The fact he's just sitting in a cafe.
Yep.
He's just there in everyday life in the world. He's not in the middle of nowhere. He's not a campsite. There's something quite unsettling about that. The gore is quite fantastic. I mean, again, that's horrible. The second one again is bonkers. I absolutely loved it. I know it's like 1,000 years long, and it kept me glued to the screen. So it's interesting though that this one didn't. But I suppose obviously that's a more traditional horror film, a slasher film.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would, and I'll admit I'm not a huge fan of Terrifier. I don't think they're terrible, but I'm not. It's just not. I don't get as much out of it. But I do think it's a better made, more engaging, entertaining film than this film was, than In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, I don't think it was entertaining at all. I mean, if you close your eyes and we tell you there's a movie shot from the killer's perspective in the woods, getting a group of young people, can't say they were teens, I wouldn't know, but they look like they were in their 20s.
Yeah.
But you would picture pretty much what we watched, or what you would think.
Yeah.
There was nothing shocking about it.
No, except that one really awesome kill, which is like roughly in the middle. It was really creative.
And would have been cool though if you would have been in any other movie. You put it in Jason movies, you put it in anything else.
Put it anywhere.
It would have been great. So it's still one of my favorite kills of all time.
Oh yeah.
So it's hard for me to be like I didn't like the movie because I'm like that was so
genius.
Great. The things as well. I've got a problem with films that make me think, or films that do offer something new. And I love that. But this one didn't quite hit the mark. The idea was there, the concept I get, and I think some of it worked, but it was too much of the same. Once you got the joke, what's happened now? I've got it. Now what?
Yeah.
It
doesn't level up.
No.
I think that's what you said. It's a genius short film. To me, it's the problem of editing. This is a great idea. This is very cool visually, but it's not for that long format.
You could have thrown it all under in 20 minutes.
Absolutely. And I think it would have been, if you'd seen the 20-minute thing, you'd be like, Chris Nash is going to be the greatest director ever.
Yeah.
Because the 20 minutes were amazing.
Yep.
But blowing it out that way loses the impact
Now, Chris
of what
Nash,
he's done.
From what I understand, directed a scene from a section from ABC's of Death 2.
Death 2, yeah.
Z for Zygote, I should say. I've seen it. I can't remember. I've got to be honest.
I don't remember that one.
He had something to do with The Void. I think he was in it. I don't know. Which I think is a good film until the last 20 minutes.
Did they talk about a bear in that movie?
They talk about
Did they talk about a bear?
a bear
In the last 20 minutes of that movie?
What was that? So it's back. It's funny. There's something about a bear, and we were like trying to work this out for ages. Is he the bear? Is he not the bear? Who's the bear? Who's the mum? The bear?
We spent more time talking about the bear than the movie.
Yeah.
It's the ending. You got to watch it, and then you'll.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to watch it
No,
if you don't want
you
to.
don't have to.
But yes, if you watch it, you'll be like, wait a minute, what? The bear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's in the sequel.
I was gonna say that's the sequel. That's the plot of the sequel. And I can tell you right now, Chris Nash, if this is the sequel, 30 minutes? I think you can get out of that story.
Yeah. 30 tops.
Director's cut 35.
Yeah. But you know what? I feel like I've criticised it a lot, because I have.
Well,
but there is stuff to take out of it. It's worth a look if you want to test the waters with something a little bit. It's a different kind of slasher, and watch some good kills. So, but yeah, there's a lot that doesn't work, I think.
And we'll end on positive notes, there are 2 scenes in there, and I will try not to ruin this. There's a scene in the ranger station, and there's a scene in the cabin or around the cabin that are both actually really cleverly shot and really cleverly laid out. They're quite good scenes. I love the ranger station scene a lot. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but that sequence is a very strong scene. I can't fault that scene.
Yeah.
Everything around it, I have no comment. And I really like we briefly mentioned this, so spoiler alert, but we briefly mentioned this earlier. There's a scene where he goes. Did we mention going around the house?
Yes.
Where he in real time goes around the house. That was a really effective use of me following him in real time.
Yes.
Those 2 scenes are actually really great.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of good directing hidden.
No, I don't think it was bad. I don't think it hit the way that the thought was.
No.
I'm glad I saw it for the reasons of I've had people recommend it and say this is amazing. It's what you want out of that movie, and I've had like positive recommendations for it. I'm glad I watched it to see what the hype was. In that sense, and I'm glad I watched it because, like we've said, there are great scenes in the movie. It's just I could just go follow you in the backwoods here for the next 30 minutes, and I can see half of the movie.
It's very easy when you talk about this, and again, Skinnamarink and things like that. It's very interesting. It's very easy to be quite pompous and think, "Oh, actually, it's very good." It really sort of subverts the genre. It doesn't. It does to a certain extent, but if you're not going to do anything interesting with it, then you're not subverting it. You're not doing what you think you're doing. You're trying to do something different, and it really isn't working. And if it's not entertaining on any level, have you succeeded? Maybe, again, but that turns back to art, film, entertainment. I don't know.
That is a really good point. I think a very important thing, particularly in film, is if you're going to do something that's specifically trying to be different, you have to have a reason why.
Yeah.
This felt like it was just showing you that it was different to be like, hey, different.
Hey, we're doing
look at the
different.
different thing.
Yeah.
But okay.
But that's not enough. You need to then. I tell you what it's like. It's a bit like do you know when you have a ventriloquist with a ventriloquist dummy, or somebody, or even better actually, somebody who does a comedian who does impressions. Right, a comedian can do impressions, and that's great. But unless the comedian then tells jokes with the impressions, there's no, or the jokes are funny. There's no point in doing them.
Right.
So it might be great that you've got the ability or the idea behind it, but unless you can actually make that work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that is kind of where I felt this was. Also, when you just mentioned the Ranger, actually, it's quite interesting. If you were going to do a sequel, imagine, and you wanted to make it even more boring than this one, you could do it from the Ranger's perspective, who just pops up to tell the campers at the beginning that might go down because things happened 30 years ago, then piss off again, have dinner with their family or whatever, come back, find a couple of dead bodies, then get killed. Done.
But make sure that the premiere is at the Tate Modern.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
So you just run out of room.
Yeah.
You can have
Exactly.
the premiere there.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've beaten this movie to death.
Yeah.
Which
Sorry.
he deserved.
Like the scene where he is
just doesn't
beating
stop
someone to death. But yes, we've heard more talking. You've heard more talking from us than there is in the entire movie. So, watch this. It's a companion piece with the movie. So,
We're the director's commentary.
yes, exactly. But